Yes, today we have a national policy for children. Last class, um, we had participated in this particular lecture about child growth and development. You are seeing the growth charts developed by the WHO, growth charts developed by WHO and our Indian government. We have seen something, but even an uneducated person or mother, though she is not educated, literate, she will definitely be able to just look at the growth chart and decide herself whether the child is growing normally or there is any abnormality. So today we will speak about the national policy for children. Children are considered to be the most precious possession of our country because they are the future productive people. So they should develop in a holistic environment, physical, mental, and social well-being as per our definition. Such people will be useful for our country. That's why we wanted to have national policy for children. First of all, let us see who are the children. You see, as per the concept of doctors, that is health field, we take 14 years, completion of 14 years as a child. Because by the child attaining 14 years of age, the puberty and secondary sexual characters in the body will be developed. And from then onwards, we consider, up to that, we consider the pediatric age group after completion of 14 years. For all practical purposes, we treat them as adults. For instance, estimation of some of the drugs, we have to give adult doses. So there is another dimension where till the child completes 18 years of age, he cannot be called as a major. He will only be minor. The reason being, probably it has been following for the last so many years, decades. People thought that their social development also, their sort of holistic growth will be there, and child will be able to decide on his own when he completes 18 years of age. That's why many times you see that if mother and father dies, who is the succession for this, particularly in Jamindari family. If the child is less than 18 years, he will be carefully grown until he completes the 18 years. Then automatically when he completes 18 years, the succession, he will become the owner of that particular property. If the child grows in a very congenial circumstances and environment, that means mother is there, father is there, other family members are there, grandparents are there. This is what is a holistic family. where the child mainly depends upon the mother for his biological needs. You see, when mother is there as soon as the when delivery is completed, within just a few hours, the child will have first breastfeeding, which contains the colostrum, as we already talked about. It will have all the immunoglobulins, etc., which can improve the protect the child from some of the respiratory diseases, etc. And he will have the warmth of the body. When the child is kept on the chest of the mother and between the breast, constant exchange of temperature, so that the temperature will be maintained in the child. And whenever the child feels hungry, immediately he will put to breast. Number one. Number two, there will be a lot of social bondage between mother and the child. Mother always observes the child, and child will have a feeling of protection when he is there with his mother. When the child slowly grows, he will be able to recognize his mother. He will be able to, may not be recognize other people, but he has some, he will have some sort of attention from other members of the family. And now and then a mother introduces the father and try to inculcate some discipline in the child. And there are always support from grandparents, particularly. They will be taking the child in the evening times just for they will have a walk, and along with them, the child also will see various things and objects, some dogs, other creatures, other human beings. So it will be a sort of recreation for the child. That support we will be having. We'll have a playful atmosphere. Even when he is in nursery, or for instance in our Anganwadi center, there are some toys. So with peers of his age, the child will be when playing and spends the time in a very happy mode. This is, of course, when everything goes well, this is okay. For instance, we say mother died due to some complications in the delivery. Mother died. That means now the child has no mother. Whatever we have described earlier about the colostrum, about the breast milk, about the maintenance of the temperature, among other things, emotional bondage, all these things, even at the time of birth, there are some vaccinations, immunization schedule, he will be missing. So that is really very important because they will definitely influence on the health of the child. So, so later what happens when mother is not there? So the other, previously we used to have joint families where other members also used to live in the house. They used to take care of the child. But today we have all nuclear families. Even in the past days also, if the mother is not there, nobody can replace. Nobody can replace. So some close maternal uncle or somebody will be taking the responsibility. But sometimes they will see, and later the child also, the child himself will be able to decide that the children of their own are treated in a different way when compared to him or she. So gradually there will be some dissatisfaction in them, and that continues forever. And that last time I told you that child mother deprivation syndrome, that sort of feeling will be there in baby. When we think about the children, particularly in nuclear families who settled in urban areas, usually they migrate from villages in search of employment to the cities. Because of lack of employment, they have to settle in some of the slums, one of the slums, where there are no basic sanitary facilities. They have a small hut there, and they try to live in that house. Slowly, there will be some differences of opinion between both the wife and husband. The real reason is only poverty. Poverty is the greatest disease. So there will be some differences between both of them. And the child, it is not a happy home anyway. The child will miss the immunization schedule because it is a new place. Mother does not know where this particular center is there for immunization. First of all, she did not realize what is the importance of the immunization in the correct age group. Likewise, nutrition is also not to the extent required by the child. So child loses this health facilities and proper nutrition and proper attention from the family members. Now, usually we see street children. It is our observation when you go into the street. Approximately 14 plus around 14 years of age. You will see many children. Some children will be begging on the streets. Some children will be destitute. That means there is no shelter for them. The entire day they beg somewhere here and there, in railway stations, in bus stands, and other busy places wherever it is. They start begging. And in the evening shelters, maybe they will be sleeping on the footpaths or in abandoned buildings. Or the shops will be closed after 9 o'clock. Either they sleep in front of the shops. Now, the worst part of it is broken family. You must understand what is this broken family. Unless and otherwise you understand this particular broken family, you will not be able to have a holistic view about the child. We may wonder, what is it? How are we related with the welfare of the child? Also the health department. You can take care of the child up to treatment of the minor ailments or any disease, or primary health care in way of immunization, we can see. But however, we are responsible for other activities. It is true to some extent, but at that formative age, it depends upon the welfare of the child. Whatever you give, the immunization or medicine, etc., ultimately the child should eat. They have a nutrition, and he has to have a shelter. Otherwise, how can he become normal? It is not possible. These broken families, how they occur is usually people are migrating from villages to the cities in search of employment, because whatever the cultivation there, it's not sufficient, it is not remunerated. So staying anymore there is no chance. So if they migrate to the city, they will have some employment opportunities. Immediately they may become some mason workers. They will get some 300 or 400 rupees like that. Already they will be having their own age group people who are earlier settled there. They will be telling them, yes, you come here, you can have some employment. For food and shelter, there will not be any problem. Like that, they will ask them, they will go there, and the shelter is just a thatched roof, and the employment is as some mason worker. So that begins the problems of the couple. The amount which he earns per day, that 400 rupees or 300 rupees, is not sufficient for their livelihood. Or a period of time, slowly the wife starts suspecting the husband. Husband starts suspecting the wife, particularly in promiscuous relations. This is all because of frustration. Otherwise, there is no point in thinking such things. They have a decent house, and wife and husband there in the house, and some family members also stay in the house. Such thoughts will never arise. It's all because of they are alone, and there's a lot of frustration. So, in the frustration, what happens is suspicion each other, and after some time, we start taking alcohol and habituated to other drugs like ganja, tiny packets, vodka packets. So slowly, some part of the amount which has been already compromised is spent for his needs of recreation. So naturally, the wife cannot withstand this type of behavior. One fine day, she leaves the house. Instead of staying this person, she leaves the house. Later, the husband also stops coming to the house. And one or two children, at the most, maybe 3 children, they are left in the house. They'll be waiting for their parents to come back. They may not come back. What happens is exactly the nearby people giving something, feeding something, which is available. Over a period of time, nobody will take care of it, because they have got their own problems. How can they take care of these people? So slowly they start coming out from the house, resort to begging. Or as per their capability, if the male children are there, they go to some hotels or some establishment where they can do some cleaning work. So generally, hotels will be there to clean the vessels, clean the plates, etc. That is all. Nobody will come. And if food is given to this particular boy, he will be able to clean the plates. And then he thinks that is sufficient for him to live. So he start working there in the house. So slowly, what happened? We become, it is nothing but labor, child labor. In some rural areas, it is very complicated. It is not so easy as you think. When I was working in the department, there used to be big debates and sort of oration. There shall not be any child labor, and district magistrate is in charge of this department. All the children, whoever is working in this child labor, must be brought back and be rehabilitated. So all these things used to go. But if you go into the details, particularly in villages, you see the mother and father, mother may be suffering from some chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, because you know in villages even till today they are using the cooking fuel as this wood as a cooking fuel. It produces a lot of smoke, and the poor mother is exposed to the smoke. Slowly there is a of lungs, and then slowly she develops chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So that's one of the important causes in our country for the chronic lung diseases. And the husband will be having tuberculosis, and there is no proper treatment. All the time he sleeps in the house because of extreme weakness. He will not move on. Okay, the child is there in the house. So what he does, if he is around 14 years of age, less than 14 years of age, he will go with the neighbors and work in the cultivation field. In the afternoon, he gets something, and that money, with that money, he purchases some food grains, and they will have some food. And this fellow, though he is a minor, family is dependent on him. What is the arrangement made by the government? Right to education. It is the right of the child to have an education, to go to the school, particularly primary education. They will supply books free of cost. There is no necessity to pay any fees to the school. They provide midday meal. Okay, but child, it's okay. But why there are so many defaulting children in the schools, in the primary schools? If you go into the details, this is a problem. Yes, if the child goes there, he will get those things. It's okay. But what about the mother and father? So there is a dropout. He stops going to the school and work like this to look after their parents. That's why it is very difficult even today to, of course, gradually it's coming down. I don't say that picture is anymore bleak. There is some improvement. It's going on. It's very ambitious if you think that in over a period of some you give up an objective, you give a targets, and then this year this percentage of children must be educated and rehabilitated, and the next year the children slowly come down, and ultimately over a period of time there shall not be any child labor. Okay, it's all objectives and what you can have. You can have and try to achieve your objective, but still it will be there. Because the root cause of all these problems we are not tackling. What is the root cause of all these problems? The root cause is failure of cultivation. Failure of cultivation. If, for instance, government takes steps to straight away go to the village and purchase the harvest directly from the farmer with a reasonable profit. For instance, if he spends about 1,000 rupees in a particular area to grow the food grains and spend about 1,000 rupees as a capital or seed amount on that crop, the government should purchase at least with 20% profit. So what happens is the 20% profit, it will be sufficient for him to lead a modest life in village. In addition to that, if you provide education to the children, good transport facilities, good healthcare facilities, they will not migrate. The problem once for all solved. And there is no burden on the government to build basic infrastructure for all these migrants in cities. In cities, that amount is saving for us. So loss somewhere, profit somewhere. You equalize both the things. Ultimately, you will be benefited. It is a good investment in the interest of the nation. Somehow we are not doing that. We will come to it later. Let us see the subject proper. So you have street children, in that way you have destitutes, you have beggars, in that way they are coming out. And some children nowadays in particular urban areas, you will see the ragpickers. The recent origin of the last 2 or 3 decades, 2 decades I think. Whatever the waste we are generating in the houses, if you carefully segregate, there are some useful things in it. You have plastic which can be recycled. You have some paper, it can again be recycled, paper packings, etc. You have small metal pieces, they are very costly. So some of the children, they are doing this sort of job. Anytime if you go to the dumping yard and see, at any time you see not less than some 300, 400 children around 14 years of age. But they start in the morning, by 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock, they will finish their work. That means whatever the wealth from that waste, that is the plastic sachets, plastic bags, papers, paper packings, metal pieces. These things they will take to the merchant, a small merchant will be purchasing. So depending upon the material, you will give it. Any child will earn at least 100 rupees a day. The moment they collect this 100 rupees, they will immediately leave that ground. They go to the town, they purchase a chicken biryani, they eat it, and they sleep. So like that, that is also a sort of, exactly you may not be able to call it as a child labor because on their own they are going. But it is nothing but child labor only. So this broken families is a very important thing. We have to understand about the problem and try to solve it so that there will be a permanent remedy for this. Then, what is the opinion of our government, including central government and also state government, about the children? In the constitution itself, we have certain articles. Article 24 prohibits children to work in factory. In those days, we used to have small factories. So children used to go there and to their capacity, maybe sweeping or providing food or cleaning vessels. So such things they used to work. So according to the Article 24, prohibition of children to work in factory. Article 39 speaks about free and compulsory education for the children up to 14 years. We have already talked about right to education. And another article, according to Article 45, abuse of children, tender age. So we have Article 24, 39, 45, various things we have described. The abuse of tender age, I give an example. Many of us will see, but the truth we do not know. Whenever in a traffic center, signal center, when vehicles stop, it is a common scene. A woman makes a saree as a small hammer, put the child here, and she'll be asking the vehicle drivers, whoever is on the vehicles, to feed this child, please give me something. I surprised to know about this. Actually, the child which this woman is carrying is not her child. That child is not her child. Where from this child came? You see, in the urban slum, there will be some mothers. This woman will go to that mother and ask the child to keep the child with her for about 3 or 4 hours. I will definitely bring back and give you the child. Along with the child, I will continue this. So that is a sort of business where usually a young woman asks, nobody will come forward to help. But when there is a child, you will think that because you have sympathized with the child, and the mother is probably, she's not able to earn anything. At least she will provide some milk to the child, give some 2 rupees, 3 rupees, 5 rupees, depending upon the luck of the lady. She will get. So you will spend some time in that particular junction. She earns some money, then she goes back and hand out the child to the mother. That is a classical abuse of the tender child. The mother knows that she is taking this child for begging. And I don't know how she treats the child there. Will she be able to put some milk? Will she be able to use some drinking water for the child? She is not sure. And this woman also may not do it. He is interested in begging by showing his child. Otherwise, there is no attachment to that child. This woman. This woman knows, mother knows. And nowadays, people also know about it. As a classical abuse of tender age of the child. So in Constitution, all these articles are there for the protection of the child. In spite of all this, we are not able to make much progress because the Constitution is nothing but it is a guidance at large. It is a guidance for that particular country and also philosophy of that particular country. Philosophy, how they look after their children, how they look after their dependents. You see, the sort of affection the Indians have towards their parents is not there in developed countries. Until today, I can say it is disintegrating slowly, I don't deny that. But yet, you see the bond is particularly in villages, the bond is still there. The Constitution also the same thing. If it is there in the Constitution, at least some people, some percentage of people in society will be able to understand it and translate it into action. That is the objective of our Constitution. So, since the children are the most precious possession of the country, the United Nations Declaration of Rights of the Children, way back in 1959 on 20th November, they said that the international community, they also felt the same thing. They said that the child should have a shelter, child should have all the affection from the family members, the child should have the breast milk from the mother, the child should have free education, The child should have recreation. All these things are wish, just like our constitution. If not today we are not in a position to provide all those benefits. But in future, at least generations, one day definitely they will be able to take care of these things. So that was the declaration. And another one is the Universal Children's Day. Every 14th of November we celebrate Universal Children's Day. What is the specialty on that particular day? UNICEF is an international non-governmental organization which formed way back in 1945 after the end of the World War. Particularly countries like India, where all the youth were killed at the time of independence. To recollect picture, all our soldiers and young people in our country fought against Germany on behalf of the England, British. On what grounds? The Prime Minister of British, Churchill, he requested our Gandhiji, Mahatma Gandhiji, you please ask your soldiers and young people to join our army and assist our army. None other than Gandhi himself have gone to big cities like Calcutta, Mumbai, etc. Mumbai, in those days. He requested, who can say no to Mahatma Gandhi? Many people have joined. Millions of people died. Millions of people were their whereabouts were not known. Some people were imprisoned. Some people never returned back. We don't know what happened to them. So like that, at the time of independence, there is no productive people in our country. Everywhere there is poverty, there is illiteracy, there are a number of epidemics of diseases. So all these things are happening. At that time, UNICEF is a non-governmental organization. We have to say we are indebted to that particular organization because they took the responsibility of feeding every child in our country. UNICEF. If the schools are there, in schools they used to supply milk, very good milk powder with proper mixture of water. It gives some 200 or 300 kilocalories of energy, some protein, fats, etc. It's a very nutritious food. Because of the UNICEF only, many children could survive at that time. So the responsibility was kept on UNICEF to celebrate this particular November 14 as National Children's Day, International Children's Day. So as things slowly pass on, we have planning commission. We have every 5 years plan. 5 years plan, 5 years plan we used to have. In 1974, the situation was understood by our government because at that time the child labor was rampant. All the adults were not in a good condition as far as health is concerned. So in every house, children, whether minors or majors, should work along with their parents. Then only they could run their house. So all the children are kept in child labor as per the definition. Where they are working, they are working for themselves. It's not that they are working for somebody. They are helping their parents. Even then, they are losing the opportunity of education. the important period in their life, for instance, in the early age up to 5 years, if they receive all the immunizations, if they receive sufficient nutrition, in growth and development, we learn that by 6th year, the development of brain is more than 80% complete. Unless you have sufficient nutrition, how the brain develops? You are stunted. There's no development of the brain. So all these problems you cannot bring back. That is the only once in a life anybody will get it. Again, you will not go back. It is impossible. Everybody knows about it. If you have breast milk from the mother, if you have all the immunization from the health department, you will have a healthy future. Because now you cannot, whatever the vaccines sit there, you cannot give those vaccines now. So for the proper development of the brain, only at that period it is, you cannot bring back. Even if now you try by whatever means, you cannot bring back the time, and the present is truth. Whatever happens, what may happen, it will happen. So that is the importance of that particular age. So in 1974, first national policy was promulgated or promoted by the Indian government. It was so lofty. I will just read. You see, the policy, National Policy for Children, 1974, and of course amended or made some modification in 2013. What they say that it shall be the policy of the state to provide adequate services to the children both before and after birth, before and after birth, and throughout the period of growth, to ensure their full physical, mental, and social development. The policy recognizes the child as the nation's supremely important asset and declares that the nation is responsible for their nurture and solicitude. What a beautiful, lofty idea. You see? You made the government, you made the society even more responsible with your own parents. Because if the parents are alive, we don't bother about all these things. So if parents are not there, all the more it is very important. So even till today, that policy, we are not able to reach that policy. So in 2013, at the most what we have done is, you see, you have Women and Child Welfare Department, you have Social Welfare Department, you have Health Department. And unless and until all these three departments put together, there is no question of any welfare. Medical and Health Department can only supply immunizations free of cost. They can treat the child if the child falls sick, free of cost. Only Women and Child Welfare Department should supplement the food because they are responsible for their welfare, in addition to the Social Welfare Department, where Social Welfare Department should provide the sort of shelter, protection, physical protection, legal protection. The children are very vulnerable. Even if you wink your eye, sometimes what happens is, particularly the girl children will be stolen. They will be sold either in Calcutta or Mumbai to the brothel houses. So that responsibility must be taken by the government. So the Ministry of Women and Child Welfare Department, actually this is the nodal department now, because this department is taking care of the welfare of the child. All right, whenever necessary, doctors and other paramedical staff will visit. They will treat the children. They will provide necessary vaccines and all that. But nodal agencies, Women and Child Welfare Department, and Social Welfare Department is responsible for provision of shelter and then other activities. So immediately the Women and Child Welfare Department actually with the assistance of the Endowment Department they have created some fund, Child Contingency Fund, under Ministry of Women and Child Development Department and Endowment Department. They have created some fund. That fund will be allotted to some of the non-governmental organizations who come forward to maintain a daycare center or an orphanage or a child care center. This amount can be spent from that contingency fund. That fund is supported by many philanthropists, sometimes government. So if there is credentials for that particular non-governmental organization, that organization will be receiving funds from this particular National Children's Fund found under the Charitable Endowments Act 1980. In 1980, this Charitable Endowments Act was promulgated with the objective of maintaining the National Children's Fund contributed by the philanthropists and also government. So now there are some non-governmental organizations. Now we are seeing everywhere there will be some orphanages and this child care centers. The responsibility is so much. Later, we had to form a national plan of action for children. National plan of action for children. Something which is serious and which is a process continuous without any interruption. In 2005, it started. And again in 2005 it started, and 2016 again there were amendments and then modifications. They added some more things to strengthen the particular activity. There is a policy by the government. Depending upon the policy, the three departments have taken up the protection of the children. Being Women and Child Welfare Department is an oral agency, and Social Welfare Department creating contingency of fund for the this type of child protection, and the contingency fund of the Endowment Act 1980 Endowment Act. So this was happening, but you should have some sort of a permanent structure and staff to run this particular activity without any interruptions. Without any interruption. So there are some departmental officers who are responsible for this particular action plan, and they will be fixing this responsibility. And in various sectors which are connected with the welfare of the children. You see, as far as the health department is concerned, we have to reduce the infant mortality and maternal mortality. First of all, maternal mortality. Why? Because just now we learned that if mother dies, there is no question of any, whatever you do, you cannot replace the mother. That's why somehow you see that mother survives. So reduction of infant maternal mortality is very important. Way back at the time of independence, there was something like 400 maternal deaths per 1 lakh live births. 1 lakh so high. You're surprised to know that in developed countries is single digit today. Even now, we have about around 130 mothers per 1 lakh live births still dying. Our intention is to bring at least first to 130 and then of course 100, then further. So that much importance is in maternal mortality. What should be all antenatal checkups and maternity child health service is very effective, very strict, and then identify the high risk pregnancies and conduct deliveries only in the institution, whether it is a normal delivery or delivery with complications or high risk pregnancy, whatever it is, all deliveries must be conducted only in the institution. Then of course, slowly we will be able to bring down the maternal deaths. That's what we are doing now. We have given a lot of importance for that particular activity. And it is responsible to the A&M field staff to create awareness in the mother, and she should tell all the facilities which are available in the hospitals. She undergoes delivery. Janni Suraksha Yojana, where they pay 1,000 rupees immediately. They will provide free of cost food and shelter for both mother and both parent, that means husband, and whoever coming for assistance. There will be shelter and food free of cost. And after the delivery, by engaging a vehicle, an ambulance, they will be taking the child and mother to their house. So all these facilities are available. Now it is responsible to the field staff to spread the message and see that all the deliveries are conducted in the hospital, by which way we will be able to reduce both maternal mortality and infant mortality. Of course, infant mortality anyway. Another important thing is if they are delivered in an institution, they will get the birth certificate for the boy or girl, say immediately. The medical officer who conducted this delivery in the institution is competent to issue birth certificate of the child. Way back, to get a birth certificate is not an easy thing. If you ask the panchayati, they will say that no, not here. The records are available somewhere else. You go there and you get the certificate there. And if you go there, they will not entertain you. Like this, many children have no birth certificate. Now the procedure is made so simple. The mother delivers in the hospital, immediately she will get the child birth certificate. So, the child should have this universal health care. That universal health care is nothing but, you see, every child should get required immunization, 0-dose immunization. After that, 1 year, all the rest of the vaccines at various intervals. Plus the antenatal mother, postnatal mother, children under 6 years of age, adolescent girls, all these people will be provided supplementary nutrition, supplementary nutrition. That should be very strictly followed in the National Plan of Action for Children. Then, general improvement of the sanitation in their surroundings, in their villages. So indirectly, it helps that there is no contamination of drinking water and food. So, this communicable diseases are minimized. Upholding the rights of the children. So, whatever is the Constitution said. For instance, if there is a calamity in that particular, there is earthquake. The Women and Child Department officers first run to the orphanage, child home, to take care of the children. He is responsible. He cannot just say that I've gone to my house to look after my family, my children, what happened to my house. No, because they are under your custody. The Constitution has given the protection to children. It's our responsibility. First of all, as a district magistrate or authorized by him or this Women and Child Welfare Department director, manager, whoever, has to first run to the center and see that if something happens there, slowly bring out the children and take them to the safe place. So that is the spirit of the Constitution and the National Action Plan for Child Protection. So all these things in this National Plan of Action for Children, it is continuous process to take care of the children, to provide protection, legal security, etc. Sometimes what happens is some fellow may come and this is my child, please give it to me. I can prove it. You ask my neighbor, you ask that man. I was away from the city, all these village from all these days. I came to know that the child is with you. The child is my child. Please give me. You should not give. It's a matter of legality. You should not believe. If so, he has to bring the directives from the court. Fellow came because the child is, girl child is good, he will sell it to some brothel house. For that he has come. He is demanding, he is claiming the child. It should not be. Once the child goes to the child home or orphanage, it is the property of the government. Nobody can go and touch. Thus, he has to get the order from the court. He cannot prove it. So once he is negligent about his children, even after he becomes normal, he cannot come and again claim the child. Cannot do that. Only in some special circumstances. Because in that particular time, he is something like a very poor man, he himself is living like a destitute. He can request the government, take care of my child for some days. As soon as I improve my financial status, I will again come and take my child. That much sort of evidence we should have before handing over the child from the orphanage or child home. So that is one. Then recently we have this integrated child protection scheme. Integrated child protection scheme. This particular activity is same thing again. The orphanage, those things only. They will be provided help from all the sectors. What we talk about, the social welfare department, medical department, and the women and child welfare department. Something like you will build a Pakka building. It is a government building. There is a separate department for this. The people who are providing security to the children, they are nothing but part of the government and government employees. They are accountable to the government. They are accountable to law and order. They are accountable to courts. A separate department. This is by integration of all these departments. You see, that particular home, there is some death happens. It will be sent to magisterial inquiry. You cannot just say that child died because of some disease. We don't know. We will dispose the body. No, it is not. Government will not allow. The magisterial inquiry will be conducted. What happened? At what time child suffered from what sort of complaints? How you are negligent without informing the health department? If you have informed the health department, where is the acknowledgement? You say that I have already informed medical officer and they have not come in time. That's why child died. So I am not responsible for that. No. Then you have to show the acknowledgement. Then if the negligence of the doctor in attending the case, he will be punished. If some calamity occurs and no proper action is taken, or some legal problem has occurred to the child, or child disappeared from the childhood, social welfare department is responsible. They cannot say that we are away, we don't know, somebody is in charge there, it is his responsibility. No, I think the office is director of some rural development also. He is the boss for this maintenance of the entire integrated sort of child home with all the other departments, intersectoral coordination and combined approach of all the departments. He is the boss. So if it is beyond his capacity, he has to inform the magistrate, local magistrate, district magistrate, who finds any difficulty. He cannot absolve his responsibility. So such sort of activities nowadays it is coming in big way, and we hope that these things will work in a correct manner, so that slowly the street children will disappear, the beggars will disappear. And as I told you, the important problem for all this is government may not be realizing, because they have got their own problems. If the migration is controlled from the villages to the towns, there is no question of any cropping up of slums, unemployment problem. Only thing is, government should have in mind to purchase the harvest directly from the cultivation field. Otherwise, what is happening? These people, they put entire responsibility on the farmer. He is not able to harvest that and take it to the market yard and waiting for days together for purchase from the government. They are the intermediary persons playing some tricks. They are not purchasing from the farmer. He is getting disgusted. At last, they ask for a price which is not even his investment. Like that, that is the problem when many farmers are committing suicide and all these things. So this has got a very in-depth roots in this problem. We hope the new government which has taken charge will do better than the earlier governments and give a sort of relief to the children, and in a true sense, the national policy for children. There are some more problems like the protection of children in exploitation of these girl children, especially prostitution. That is a great the protection given by the government, protection of the children from sexual offences, Act 2012. It's a very powerful act to protect the girl children. If such things happen, there is an execution. The punishment is death punishment. Such a severe punishment is there. By attending all these things, National Action Plan for the Children, the other protections, the Endowments Department, Children's Contingency Fund, all these things ultimately should do good to the community, particularly these children. And children should, as government, they are precious possession of the country, and they will be grown as citizens, productive citizens for a country. They not only they themselves look after them, they also should look after the dependent people like old people and children. That's why government is taking a lot of interest. Society also should take a lot of interest to see that children, their age, their contributions will not be wasted. To the next class.